Hey, it's Tom from Texas, and it's time for another Floppy deep dive. And today we are going to be diving into Karateka. Karateka is one of my favorite games for the Commodore 64, and yes, I do have a lot of favorite games for the Commodore 64, but this time I want to dive into it just like I did on the past Bruce Lee video and try it out on different systems. So today we're going to be looking at 10 different systems. Yes, 10 different systems. We're going to look at the original. Apple II is what it originally was written for. Then we're going to go to the Amstrad, check it out, the Atari 8-bit, the Atari 7800, the Commodore 64. We're going to look at it on IBM MS-DOS. We're going to look at the NES. We're going to look at the ZX Spectrum. I got the ZX this time for you guys that don't, the American way of our ZX. Just kidding. At the Game Boy. So we're going to be checking out all these systems. I had a blast checking them all out, playing them, seeing them for the first time on some of these systems, obviously comparing it all to my Commodore 64. I have my original Karateka floppy right here for the Commodore 64, and then I also have my cracked version that I have from back in around 1985 when I got this and downloaded off of BBS, probably at 300 baud. Took hours to be able to get it downloaded and then be able to play it. But Karateka was the first game that I got that it felt like a movie. It told a story. You had your evil warlord Akuma and his fierce warriors attacking you with his eagle on his shoulder also attacking you. It also had the Princess Mariko in it that you had to rescue. And you learned a lot of lessons. So you learned never run straight up to a fierce warrior standing straight up and down because they'll kick you and kill you. You learned never to walk underneath bars because they potentially could fall and squish you. You learned that never run full force straight up to the princess or she's going to kick you in the face and kill you. So many lessons learned. Also even learned vocabulary on this one. You had it all on a craggy cliff. Never knew the word craggy until I saw this game, and once we read it, we started using craggy quite a bit as a joke. People would understand it who played the game. So let's put our fear and self-concern behind us and focus on our objective today in accepting death as a possibility, because this is the way of the Karateka. So I numbered all these screens again for the 9 systems so you can take a look at all of them on the same screen at once and see if you can identify the screen that is your system that you played, or try to guess what different systems these are. I will tell you which ones they are at the end. So I just wanted to look at some of the little differences. Number one, again, it's the original. This is Apple II. I'll tell you which one that is. So this is what they made the game for, and everything else came from that. The Apple II actually looks really good. That's what I'm going to base everything off of, because it was a quality gameplay. But if you look at it, it's very good detail, looks really good. The mountains all look really good. It's nice full screen. Just a nice looking version. Number 2, and you look at that one there, it also looks really good. You could tell they ported it over well from the Apple II to this system. Definitely a change in the colors of everything and how it looks. Number 3, definitely more brighter colors, more extreme colors, different colors along those lines. Number 4, it's definitely a different format. Up at the top you can see you don't have those arrows that you're trying to do. You have those red and blue bar that's at the top that's going back and forth, so definitely a difference there. The middle one looks very familiar to 2. Also looks really good quality. The picture looks really good. The mountain in the background looks really good. And number 6, if you don't know what this system is, you just don't know what systems are, because this one's easy to tell and identify. But it was a little bit different to play, obviously, than all the others. Number 7, black and white, but the graphics weren't bad on this one. It looked pretty good. Different again, bar, no arrows, different things. So it's definitely made it different than the original game. Now over here on number 8, this is completely different. So you're not starting off on the edge of the cliff. You're just starting immediately off fighting right in the middle of the game. You've got the kind of same format where you're on the bridge and the mountain in the background, but no build up to the story to get to that point. And then number 9, the last one here, everything is pink. Your guy looks pink. The mountain is, looks normal with the blue sky, and again, full screen. Everything looks pretty good on there. So those are the systems. Now let's look at the gameplay. So now looking at the gameplay and how the different ones move and everything, like you notice, most of them start on the edge of the cliff. If you don't know, if you go backwards, you fall off of that cliff. The only ones that did not start on the edge of the cliff is number 6 and number 8 were the 2 that didn't start on there. So the fighting wise and everything is very similar in all the games. In fact, a lot of the keyboard movements are the exact same across the board on these games. Some things are different, obviously the graphic wise, or sometimes just how you got to get stuff done, like in the number 6 and number 7, even number 8, just different ways to do different things. But the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 9 are basically all the same game. With the little tweaks here and there, where number 6, 7, and 8 are definitely unique in their own, and they have to be for the systems. So those, all together make up a good, interesting mesh of games that I had to play and figure out the controls of all of them and figure out what does what. But luckily this is a pretty basic, simple game. So once I could figure it out, I could move forward and see more of the game. Enjoyed it immensely. Just playing all these different games and again, seeing all the different features. It's just a fun game. It's a good story. It's like a little movie inside it, and I enjoyed every bit of it. So now I'm going to reveal to you the systems that are behind each one of these. See if you guessed right. So if you haven't guessed yet, go ahead and pause it and guess it. Or if you're not going to guess it, that's okay. I'm just going to tell you right now. So here are the systems, and let's see if you got them right. So here's the systems, guys. Number 1, like I told you, is the Apple II, the original the games came out on. Number 2 is the Atari 800, which was ported over and looked really good. Number 3 is the Amstrad. Number 4 is the NES. Number 5 was the Commodore 64 that I love and adore. Number 6 is the ZX Spectrum. Number 7 was the Game Boy. 8 was the Atari 7800. And 9 was the IBM MS-DOS game. So did you guys get them right? How many did you get right? Put them down in the comments. And now let's break into the many faces of the characters in each one of these games. So I'm going to look at the different ways Akuma looks in the system. First is the Apple II. This is the Amstrad. And then the Atari 800 Akuma. And the Atari 7800 Akuma looks very generic. And the Commodore looks very similar to the Atari. And the IBM MS-DOS. Everybody's pink. And the NES is completely different than everybody else. And of course the ZX Spectrum's different Akuma. And the Game Boy Akuma looks really cool, but definitely different. And now let's look at the princes on Apple II. And this is the Amstrad Mariko. And Princess Mariko on the Atari 800. And this is the Atari 7800. And the Commodore 64. And the MS-DOS. Pink again. And the NES. And the Spectrum. and the Game Boy, which looks very similar to the NES. So I thought that would be just something cool to look at, something different, to see the different faces and just how they did the graphic wise of each of the different systems for those two characters. Hope you found that cool. So now let's dive into the gaming itself of the individual systems. So here's Karateka, the original Apple II, where it came up. It starts off with this scrolling story of the craggy cliff that I've mentioned before, and where you learn about the warlord Akuma and that he's holding Princess Mariko. So a lot of the games start this way, not all of them, but this is the original. This is how Jordan did it, the creator who also did Prince of Persia and those other cool games. This was his first one. So and it all went from there. But the Apple II actually has a really good version that I enjoyed playing a lot. Here it is, the opening scene, and I'm not going to show you all the opening scenes, but this is the most important one, where they're sending the princess into her prison cell, her room, to lock her in. As you can see, his fierce warriors, they all look different in the different games. This one, he has the red helmet, looks like he has like antenna, you know, like an ant. But of course she comes in here and it's so dramatic with the door slam when she walks in, and she turns and looks at the door slam, and everything's just so drama and dramatic. And I always thought the princess was based after Lonnie Anderson of the time when I was a kid. I could have swore it just seemed that way. But she falls to the floor, and it's just that dramatic scene. And here comes the hero of the day, who knows karate, and don't take a step back because you'll fall off the cliff, but go in, do your fighting, and try to rescue the princess. And it was just, like I said, it's just a fun game. Again, look at this, look at the warrior on this one. This one has horns, so instead of antlers, this one has horns that you're fighting. Your character's a little bit red. The sound's good, the sound's just fine in this game, but you know, it's the typical arrows at the bottom. You want to eliminate the arrows and keep your arrows. If you rest, you can build up yours. If he rests, he can build up his. So then it's just the fight to the princess. And like I said, the Apple II did it right when they came out, and just did a really good version. And I really enjoyed the Apple II quite a bit. So let's go on to the next one. So the Amstrad actually is really cool looking. A lot of versions don't show that house at the beginning, or the lair, evil lair at the beginning up on the craggy cliff, but this one does. As you can see, the guys look completely different than anything. This one came out later than the Commodore 64 and the Atari and so forth, but the Amstrad likes to use vivid colors and different colors, and they definitely did in this game. I don't know if it made it any better, to tell you the truth. I like the Bruce Lee version on the Amstrad, but this one here, I think it's just okay. It wasn't my favorite of all the different ones, or I wasn't blown away like I was on the last time. It's just okay. I think sometimes it's just too much that they're trying to do, and it looks better to me, just the basic of how they have it. So this game was good, enjoyed playing it, but again, sounds are okay, graphics are okay, but still just keep it to the basics, and like the Atari and the Commodore did, and I think it would be just fine. So let's move on to the next one. So the Atari is a very good port over, very clean, good sound, good, you know, easy gameplay, very fluid and quick to pick up. It ported great from the Apple II. They did a great job, and the same one who did it did for the Commodore. Just a good, clean, fun. The graphics look great, so much better. See how it's just keeping it simple with the white, looks good. And so I think the Atari was one of my favorite to play, and enjoyed it because it's so similar to the Commodore. So the Atari 7800 was an interesting game. You can definitely tell that it was older, but the controls were a little bit difficult, a little bit harder to figure out. The sound was just god awful. It was piercing. It reminded me of Dumb and Dumber when he said, "Do you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?" That was the intro screen of this game, and it's just piercing and annoying, and I'm sorry, I can't talk enough about it. It just drove me nuts, the sound of it. I was not a big fan of the gameplay. This is the one that you don't even start at the cliff. There's not really a good story. It's just you're starting in the middle, you just start fighting a guy, and it was just very awkward and wonky. The controls weren't easy to figure out. Overall, I give this game a D. It just drove me nuts, and not a big fan, but I wanted to put it on there because it is still better than the MSX version. So anyway, that's the Atari 7800. So this is my good old Commodore 64 version, and of course this is what I'm used to and love and adore. The Commodore, the biggest thing that people would talk about is just the movements. You push the button, it isn't as fluid as some of the other games, or it's just not as responsive is a better word to when you're pushing the button. So it's kind of slow. You'd want to speed up the fighting action a little bit, but it didn't bother me as a kid when I played it. It actually I thought made it easier to think of your next move or do what you need to do because of the pace was kind of slow. And you could normally get 3 kicks off or 3 punches off in a row as long as he didn't hit you to stop it. And like I said, graphics wise, sound wise, everything ported over really well. Looks very similar to the Atari. It's also very similar to the original when they ported the story wise. The warriors don't look as crazy, don't have the ant antennas or the other stuff, but overall it's a good version of the game, and thoroughly enjoyed it as a kid. Like I said, it was one of my favorites, going to rescue the princess, and it took me a while to get to the end, but it is another game where you can get to the end and get to the conclusion pretty easy. And I think I like that because I think it was probably one of the first games I ever solved or played all the way through as a kid. But just a fun game, and Commodore did it really, really well, and great childhood memories looking at this game. So this version shows the evil lair up on the craggy cliff again, where the Atari and the Commodore both didn't have that. So that was new to me, seeing that. But this is the MS-DOS version, and as you can see, your character in this version is pink. And I don't know why that disturbed me, but there's something about it with the character being pink. But as you can see, the fierce warriors are back to having the mask and having the horns in this version. The play of it was really pretty well. Also, when you hit them, it has the pink, and of course the Akuma and Mariko are both pink. So all the characters are pink. So they really like the blue and pink of this version, which, like I said, not a big deal. It still plays very well. I like the uniqueness of it, of the MS-DOS version here. And I don't mind the mask. I know the Commodore doesn't have that, more shows the face. And of course, here's the iconic scene. And this one's a little bit different. It has music that plays along with it that none of the others had. And it's a long music where it just has him standing there with his hands on his hips with his eagle until finally, his warrior shows up and he points him towards my direction. So that was different. None of the other games have it where they had that music right there while he's standing there. So now we got to run at each other. Same typical thing, getting the cliff to get into the building before. So again, enjoyed this version. I thought it was pretty cool. and we'll definitely would play it again. So next we're going to look at the NES version of this game, and I've never played this one in my life. This was in Japan. I like the way that you could hear the waves coming up on the cliffs in the background. I thought that was cool. You see that the warriors are back having mask again, but the biggest difference here in the NES version versus all of the 8-bit games is that it doesn't have the arrows. You have the squares at the top. Do you see the red and the blue up there? So you try to take out your opponent, you gotta remove that blue. Which will advance on to the next section here. And then here's the biggest difference. Look at this room, and look at Akuma. That doesn't look like that anywhere. Which was cool. It had a nice little flair. I have never played this game before this week to be able to get this video ready on the NES. I wasn't a huge NES guy. I had my Commodore 64, and I was very happy with my Commodore 64. I thought it was did everything that I needed. I was aware of the NES out there, but just never really played it that much until the next version of the Nintendo system came out, the Super Nintendo. But this one here, like I said, never grew up with the Duck Hunt and all the different ones, so playing the NES was actually pretty cool, and I like checking out this version just to see the difference between it, and they actually did a really good job with it. I thought it was unique, the play was unique, the characters, have their own uniqueness to it. But again, still plays the same as the original Atari or Apple II, and I loved it. I thought this was fun and just another good variety of this awesome game. So now we're going to look at the ZX Spectrum, and it does have the intro screen. It has the evil lair up on the craggy cliff too, and this one's actually in a different language. I believe it's Italian. I'm not 100% sure. If someone can tell me, that'd be fine. But I noticed that some versions are like that, and it's not in the English. The Amstrad was that way too. So this one took me a little while to figure out the fighting technique of it, the keyboard technique of it. But once I figured it out, how to punch and kick, it was the basic maneuvers and movements, just like all the other games. Obviously it looks very, very different graphic wise and sound wise. There's just something about this system that I like. It kind of reminds me of the Game Boy, the black and white, which we'll be seeing here shortly. How just the graphics on it. But again, it was easier, I thought, than the other ones. I moved through it quicker and got through the different parts of it quicker. You just kind of start. You're not really on the edge of the cliff when you're starting, and the warriors definitely look different. The princess, everybody looks different. Everything's a little bit different, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just like I said in the last video when I went to Bruce Lee, it's the uniqueness to it. I don't like it as much as the Bruce Lee. I think the Commodore, the other versions, are better than this version, but it has its place, and it allowed people who had this Spectrum to be able to play Karateka, and it's always cool just to see all the different varieties of how this game is. I love how his helmet falls off and his head's just laying there. So anyway, it was just again, this language, I'm guessing Italian. I don't know that 100%, but here they come running again. This one, the warrior looks a little bit better, has that. Now I'm already inside, so only fight one person outside on the Spectrum, and then you're already into the lair, running in. So it's much shorter, and you get in much quicker. I guess that's the karate screen there. But anyway, it is what it is, and again, I enjoyed playing it. It looks like his helmet has like flowers in front of his head, along with the antennas. just odd. All right, on to the next game. So here's the Game Boy version. It's called Master Karateka. So it's a little bit different. It has 3 different levels, and you go in there and you can select your put power to different aspects of different things. But again, you start off on the edge of the cliff, and you've got the warriors coming to fight you. But the difference is, you don't have a lot of fighting you gotta do. You kick these guys like twice, and they're down for the count, which was unique and different in its own way, and it doesn't have the arrows. The graphics aren't bad for the Game Boy. In fact, they're better than the ZX Spectrum. If you look at the detail of it all, it is still in black and white. Looks like I'm running in slow motion here on this game. Love how Akuma looks. These warriors all have the helmets like the original one. That one threw something at me. It had a throwing star that throws at me. So this game's definitely different. I wanted to include it because it was in the Karateka family and thought it would be cool just to add to the video. I've never had NES or Game Boy in any of my videos, but just thought it would be a cool feature just to add, so I wanted to add it to the end there. So fun gameplay, not hard at all so far. I just did level 1, but you can get through it pretty quick. I'm just knocking these guys, doing the same thing over and over, a couple of kicks, and you move on to the next one. And that's the Game Boy. So I hope you enjoyed all these different systems, and now let's wrap this whole thing up.
I hope you enjoyed checking out all these different systems and how they all looked and how they played. I always love diving into these and checking out how other people experience the game. I only saw it as the Commodore 64, so seeing it as something else is just really cool to me and special, and it just makes the game even more enjoyable. So I love deep diving into these games and checking out all these different systems, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. And thank you for joining me on another Floppy Deep Dive.